let's bring in Sushant Sareen, one of India's best-known strategic affairs observers. He's also a senior fellow with the ORF. Kushal Mehra is an author, podcaster, and watcher of all things Pakistan, Trump, and beyond. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is a well-known veteran, former diplomat and part of the IFS. Sushant, I'd like to kick it off with you. I don't even know how to frame my question, honestly, because everything is there in what Asim Munir has actually said. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Sushant, on him saying, we are a nuclear nation. If you come at us, we'll take half the world down with us?
Shiv, I think despite the fact that these guys are loudmouths, I think we need to take this with a certain degree of seriousness, and I'll tell you the reason why. Please remember that Asim Munir is the first Pakistani army chief who, as the Indian analysts who have been looking at Pakistan have been anticipating, is that Zia Bharti guy. The first one, not technically Bajwa, but Bajwa was commissioned in 1980 when things are still pretty new, and the ideological and the indoctrination transformation had not taken place. Asim Munir is one of those crazy characters who steeped into the trash which was being taught in Pakistani academies, right? So there will be more of Asim Munirs to follow, just like there will be more of Donald Trumps to follow Donald Trump. That is one. Secondly, please remember that this is neither the first person who has said we will not just fire at India, we will destroy the world. Right? There are other Pakistanis, generals and others who have retired, not army chiefs, but at least generals who have gone on record and said this. I'm not even talking about silly, stupid politicians like Sheikh Rashid. There's very little to choose between Asim Munir and Sheikh Rashid, considering they both come from Rawalpindi and have the same IQ. But there are others who have said this. Number three, and equally important, this is not the first time Asim Munir has said something as stupid as this on American soil. During his last visit, he had said something similar. The only thing was that there was no story which was published, which you could say that, look, this is the kind of stuff he has talked. But there were many hints that he said stuff which a lot of people which had left a lot of people aghast. Whether how to take a guy like this saying the kind of stuff he's been talking about, and his boastful nature. And finally, on this whole nuclear, this no first news business, I think there is a need for a review. And the reason for that is that, look, if you're dealing with a country like Pakistan and unhinged, crazy characters, the fact of the matter is they don't take your NFU seriously anyways, right? So gift it to them and say that at least as far as Pakistan is concerned, there's no NFU.
Okay.
Maybe with other countries, we will have an NFU, but as far as Pakistan is concerned, although we have said this in the past, in one form or another, that if we think that the Pakistanis are going to be launching on us, we will preempt them.
Okay.
Something similar might have happened this time around also. When Shahbaz Sharif says that we had warned them and we didn't realize that they preempted us by launching their missiles on us. I think we need to start taking these things a little more seriously.
Okay.
Yes, we should make fun of him. We should mock him and lampoon him because that's what Pakistanis are worth.
No, I agree with you. We are mocking and lampooning him, but like I said in my opening comment, this is a deadly serious issue because he is, after all, the man who controls Pakistan, and it is a country that has all of these weapons. Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain is also joining us. Thanks for being with us. Good evening to you as well, sir. How are you reading what Asim Munir has said? Are you surprised? Of course, there's a great deal of, satire that is happening. People are making memes of it. But this is something that needs to be taken seriously, says Sushant Sareen. What do you think, General Hasnain?
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you for inviting me for this program. Yes, morning I got up today and saw the news. And my first response was, this is not something spontaneous which he has said in Tampa. It's not that out of someone has just questioned him and he has, suddenly blurted this out. This is a very deliberately hatched out kind of a thing which he has gone with to make these statements there. There are a couple of reasons for it. Number one, a pushback against India in the international media, going on foreign soil and saying it. He could have said this in Rawalpindi.
Correct.
But if he said it in Rawalpindi, no one would take notice of it internationally. But here he said it in Tampa, said it in the US. Obviously, not only the diaspora, the Pakistani diaspora, the Indian diaspora will take note, and the international media takes note. So this is a thing to say, see, we are equal to you, right? If you think you are economically a superpower and things like that, remember, wrestling with us will bring you down to the same level.
Yeah.
That's the kind, it's the crude kind of way to put it. And this is not something new, let me tell you. Okay. I have been dealing with a lot of Pakistani generals on the track too. The same thing in slightly different words in Hindi said, Sanam, agar hum doobenge, to sabko saath lekar doobenge.
That's right.
It's that kind of a thing which they've been stating. I would also use another Urdu idiom for this. Khisyani billi khamba noche. Very typical thing, that when you are jealous, when you are perturbed, when you want to do something to come out of it and show yourself as a stronger nation, a stronger person, someone more capable, etc.
Yeah.
To that extent, I disagree with my friend Sushant.
Okay.
Why are you wrestling with the pig here? Why do you want to take them down like this? Ignore him, in 2 days this will be off from the scanner. You want to get into it and go down to his level. Your thing is moral ascendancy. You have won a conflict. You are a technologically, economically a much bigger power. You are looked upon with an eye of responsibility by the international community. You want to come down to his level. You want to come down to their level, to the Pakistan Army's level as an institution. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Anyone who tries to convince me, I am not convinced on that aspect. And as for your memes which are running behind you at the moment also, I don't agree entirely.
Okay.
India the dignity of India is much higher.
No, that's
we
just
don't
us.
want
That's
to
not
get
the
involved
Indian
in these kind of things.
Yeah. No, I take your point. I take your point, General. Sushant, you want to quickly reply? General Hasnain says he doesn't agree with you. He says, why even engage? I'm assuming General Hasnain disagrees that, even the statement that we put out, the harsh statement that we put out from the MEA today wasn't necessary. Why engage with the guy and give him any attention on this? Sushant?
No, I think, Shiv, you cannot simply ignore these kind of ravings and rantings of a lunatic. We keep talking, and General Hasnain knows that we've spoken about this. We keep talking about strategic communications, the fact that there are different audiences around the world that you need to address in certain idioms which they will understand. Now, our problem is that there is also an audience in Pakistan which you have to tell them in no uncertain terms that, listen, if you guys think that, these threats are going to wash on us, we are not going to just simply behave the nice, mature guy and keep quiet.
Yeah.
We will give it right back to you, and we will give it right back to you with interest, and we will make sure that tumhara beej nash kar denge. So look, not because I believe that we should be using this language, but because this is the only language these pigs, as General Hasnain describes them, understand. So sometimes even if you don't want to wrestle with the pig, you at least have to say oink oink to him to convey the message to him so that he understands what we are saying to him. So you have to sometimes speak the language of the guy to tell him where he gets off.
General Hasnain, you want to quickly add to that, and then I'll go to Kushal and Ambassador Dogra.
And thank you for that. Sushant is not wrong to the extent that you have to get it out of your system also, the Indian system as such. But as I said, our dignity is far too important for us. I've been monitoring some of the tweets coming out of Pakistan today. Many of the very anti-India voices in Pakistan are also not agreeing with Asim Munir, let me tell you. So I think we are playing to the right quarters, and India's response by the MEA, that much is sufficient, nothing more than that.
Okay. Kushal, you want to weigh in? Kushal, what do you think? You've been smiling right through this exchange.
I was just smiling at the oink oink of Sushant. That's all. Listen, I don't agree with General Hasnain. You have to deal. There might be a middle way out, right? You don't have to go at their level, but you certainly don't have to ignore them at the same time. Why is there always going to be an option of either you ignore them or you have to just go completely ballistic and crazy like them? Maybe you can just say, listen, like Sushant said, right? You can create an exception for Pakistan. And there is a reason why Asim Munir said it in the United States of America, because he knows what pushes the American buttons. Are we just going to ignore the fact that Pakistanis historically have handled Washington DC much better than the Indians? These are facts. We don't need to, feel irritated by these things. They know how to push the American buttons. They push the American buttons, and if that works with America, then maybe it's time we also push that button once in a while and let the Americans know, hang on, you guys get perturbed with this. Well, now we're doing it. Then let's see what the Americans do. You have to call the bluff out. In Operation Sindoor, what did we do? By upping the ante militarily, we called their bluff out, right? We basically called the nuclear blackmail out. Now let's take it to the next level. I think it's fair. I would be more on the side of Sushant on this one.
Okay, Sushant, you want to quickly add to that? You raised your hand, then I'll go to Ambassador Dogra. Yeah, Sushant, quick one.
Point. When the Kargil war was being fought, we very often forget, our own history. When the Kargil war was being fought, initially, the entire Western world, whether it was the Europeans or the Americans, were urging restraint upon us because we were supposed to be the most sensible, the most sober kind of player, the more responsible guys. They were telling us that, okay, you guys don't up the ante with the Pakistanis and you back off, which is exactly what the Pakistanis were relying on. It was only after Mr. Vajpayee and the then government decided that they are not going to back down, they're going to up the ante. I wish they had done it a lot more than what they finally did. But nevertheless, it was only after that the shoe was on the other foot. And the pressure was then put on the Pakistanis that you violated everything and you have antagonized the Indians. So now they are hitting you back. Now you have to withdraw. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when they are doing this saber-rattling, you need to tell the rest of the world that this is where these guys get off. And if you think that you are going to be able to pressure us to, because these guys are madcaps, and that we need to deal with them. So, you guys, please play it soft with these guys. This is where you guys get off. We are not going to play soft with these guys. If you want nothing to happen, ask them to back off.
Ambassador Dogra, you've seen the MEA's response. They've, identified the US as a friendly third country. I wanted to know what you thought of that specifically, because the United States has not commented, reacted, or said anything about Asim Munir's reported words. And also, I wanted to know whether beyond, a diplomatic reaction, do you believe there needs to be a relook at our nuclear policy, the no first use policy? Ambassador Dogra, to you.
I'm glad you asked this question. But let me first go back very briefly to what General Hasnain said, because that relates to MEA statement. And I think he's very right in saying that we should approach the world in a dignified manner. And that is what MEA statement did today. But that does not mean, and I am second guessing him, that does not mean that we should not have our guns ready, or whatever is called in military terms, our bombs ready if necessary. Now coming to NFU, NFU is not cast in stone in India. NFU has to change with the circumstances. And India has been considering this over the years, and the shock has not been recent. Shock, according to some reports, has been 7 or 8 times in the past, because there were reports that Pakistani generals were preparing their nuclear option. And their nuclear option is not just one. Their nuclear option is manifold. Full spectrum as well as tactical. And tactical nukes, according to some reports, are banned at a junior level, which makes it very dangerous. So coming back to NFU, I think another aspect which we don't often appreciate is the message which Munir has been giving consistently. And that message is that unlike West, unlike Europe, which is the same religion, here I'm dealing with Hindus. Pahalgam followed. Once again, if you read the entire text that he read out, the message was the same. What came out impromptu was impromptu. It was not part of the written speech. The offensive language came out as a matter of language, as a matter of deliberation, but it was not printed on the speech that was written. So one of the interpretations could be, and here I am interpreting,
Okay.
that Munir did not want that printed thing to go to his American host, but he wanted to convey a message to the non-resident community and to India, who he knew would get it one way or the other.
You know, to the Indian
Let me
public.
let me also add. Now, the other complicating factor, as against the European nuclear scenario, is that we are just 2 minutes away from each other. So the warning time is minuscule.
Yeah.
There is no technology developed so far which can distinguish between a nuclear armed missile and then just a bombed missile. So things are complicated, and that is why I think the government of India, I'm sure, is already actively considering the issue of NFU.
Let me get General Hasnain in on that. On NFU, on the no first use policy, where which states that India will not be the first one to use nuclear weapons, but will use them in retaliation to a nuclear attack. Do you think that requires some kind of a relook? Not just in terms of in the wake of what Asim Munir has said today, but in general, General Hasnain.
Thank you. To respond to Ambassador Dogra's very, very fine statements, I would say, yes, the fact that our Raksha Mantri has himself alluded to this a couple of times, that we need to do it. I think just alluding to it is a good message, nothing else. But also remember the fact, as you said very correctly, this is not cast in concrete. NFU or no NFU, if I am under threat, I will fire. Nothing else.
Yeah.
You remember, I mean, you see, what I want to convey through your channels here is the fact that we have been at the receiving end of this kind of rhetoric from Pakistan and the Pakistan Army leadership.
Yes.
As if India does not have a single nuke under its control. They seem to think only they have the nukes. Right? We have never alluded, we have never responded, etc. And that is why I'm saying it's a very important thing to continue that.
Yeah.
Once we did it, when General Padmanabhan, if you remember in the year 2002, during Operation Parakaram, went to the media and said very clearly, if Pakistan dares to even think of this, we will launch in such a way that Pakistan will get vaporized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the virtual words that he used. I think instead of making these memes here and there and small statements to try and send home some strategic messaging to Pakistan, a strong statement of that kind. Make sure that you send home the message about your own red lines. The whole world is talking about Pakistan's red lines. You mean to say India doesn't have red lines?
Correct.
Our red lines have to be conveyed very clearly, not through these small messages here and there and wrestling with pigs. It has just to be conveyed strategically, importantly to the leadership. That is what I'm trying to convey.
Sushant, do you think the MEA's statement today will be the end of it as far as Munir's comment is concerned? Or do you think it's going to trigger something deeper from a policy perspective?
No, I think from a policy perspective, there should be something much more than just this statement. And I would imagine that the armed forces, look, a lot of stuff that the armed forces are doing, we are not even aware of. And
That's true,
as he tells us that we very often underestimate our own armed forces and their capabilities. So that's the good part. I only wish that we knew a little more so that, it would be, it inspires a lot more confidence. Otherwise, you feel that, have these guys thought of this? Have they thought of some other eventuality? But clearly, as Op Sindoor shows, they have thought it all through. So that's the good part. So I'm sure they would be working on the policy aspects of this entire thing. But please remember, Shiv, and I think General Hasnain and I are not on a different page on this one.
Yeah.
I agree that, that a more, we can do with a somewhat more forceful statement either by the CDS or by the army chief or even by the Raksha Mantri. That can happen. But I think it's very important that if we are actually talking about switching from a NFU to a first use thing, then we have to very, very significantly enhance our C4ISR capabilities.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know if we have reached that level because, like I said, we are all ignorant about what all has been already achieved. And Shiv, I'm sure even you don't know everything despite being an ace defense correspondent.
Yeah, true.
Which is what it should be actually in many ways. But the thing is, do we have that level of capabilities that we can then say that, okay, fine, we know that these guys are about to launch and we are not going to use it. Otherwise, we lose it. So the point is that we need to make very, very significant investments both in the conventional and the non-conventional domains, which unfortunately we haven't made to the extent that we should have.
Yeah.
Because the power differential between India and Pakistan, given the size of our economies, should be at least 4 times, if not 5 times more than what it is currently.
Sushant Sareen, General Hasnain, Kushal, Mehra and Ambassador Dogra, thank you very much. I'm out of time. I would have liked to take another round of questions, but this is, I suspect, a story that we're going to be visiting over and over the next few days. So thank you, gentlemen, for being with me on discussion number 1 here on India Matters.